Is it the flu, a cold, or COVID? Well, with people getting sick again, many of us are reaching into our cabinets to pull out home COVID tests, only to sometimes find the box on the date is expired. Here to help us figure out what to do with those expired COVID tests is cardiologist Dr. Christopher Labos. Hi, Dr. Labos.
Hello, hello.
So I have to say I was in this exact position just 2 weeks ago when two people in our house, including me, were not feeling well. And of course, my immediate thought was, is it COVID? So we pulled out the COVID tests and they were expired, but we did them anyway. But we didn't quite trust them. Are they any good still?
So they probably are. And here's the important point. The date may say that it's expired, but they may not actually be, because both Health Canada here in Canada and the FDA in the US have pushed back the expiry dates on many home COVID tests, because when they were first put onto the market, there was a very conservative estimation of what their shelf life would be. With additional data, it was shown that they do actually still function for at least 2 years post-manufacturing date. So the first thing to check is your test kit actually expired or not? You can look online on the Health Canada or the FDA website to try to find the serial numbers and the lot numbers to see if they were pushed back. But a good rule of thumb is for the vast majority of test kits, Health Canada has said they are good for 2 years post-manufacturing date. And most kits on it are going to have not just an expiry date, but a manufacturing date. And so you can just add 2 years from that. And given that most kits were manufactured at the beginning of 2022, those ones should last people and should still be good until the beginning of 2024.
Okay, that's good. So a lot of the ones that we got initially might still be good. But what about the efficacy of them, though? Does it decrease with time? Do we know anything about that?
Well, they could, and that's why these things expire because look, it's not milk, it's not going to spoil, it's not going to harm you. But the way these tests work is when you do the swab and you have viral antigen in your nose, then on the Q-tip, you put it in the solution, you drop the solution into the test kit. The reason it changes color, the reason you get that second line to show that it's positive, it's because you have an antibody in the test kit that's latching on to the COVID antigen, and that's causing a color change. So with time, those antibodies in the test kits can break down, especially if you don't store them properly, if you leave them in direct sunlight and they get very cold or very hot. So when these antibodies break down, you won't get that binding, you won't get that color change, and you could, in theory, get a false negative. If you get a positive result, that's probably true because it means the antibodies are still working. But there is the potential to get a false negative if that test has expired and those antibodies are no longer functional.
Can you get a false positive?
Very, very unlikely, because there's no real mechanism for that to happen. If the antibody breaks down, the antibody just won't be there and it won't cause the color change. So false positives are not really things that people worry about. The worry with an expired test is that it could give you a false negative. And so you would think you're fine, even though you're still sick and infectious, and you could then go out and infect other people.
Okay. And should you be repeat testing? I mean, every couple of days, or like not at the onset of symptoms, but wait a little?
You probably should, because here's the thing. With some of the newer variants, what we found is, especially with the rapid tests, is that they are not as sensitive as the PCR tests that were being widely used at the beginning of the pandemic. So when something is less sensitive, you can get a false negative. So if your test is positive, then you should assume that's a true positive. If your test is negative, though, it is a good idea to retest the next day or the day after that, because there are a lot of people who start negative and then become positive later. So if you want better accuracy, repeat testing, and especially testing at swabbing the back of your throat, increases the sensitivity of the tests.
Okay, quickly, last question. What do we do with the expired ones that are truly expired? Can we just throw them out? I'm guessing we shouldn't put them in landfill. Do we bring them to a pharmacy? What do we do with them?
I mean, that's probably the best course of action, because there are ways to dispose of these things. There's nothing inherently dangerous about most of these kits, but if there's any doubt, just call your local pharmacy. They usually have ways of disposing of, biochemical waste like this. But again, there's nothing inherently dangerous about the test kits.
Okay, and for medical questions, you can always email us at askmedical@bellmedia.ca. Thanks so much, Dr. Christopher Labos. We'll see you soon.
All right, take care.